it's not fair that my mom was killed. I was 19 years old. I had $89,000. I was taking 15 to 20 Vicodin or Oxy a day, snorting my methylphenidate. That money was completely gone within 2 years. My wife is gonna leave me. My kids are gonna hate me. Lord spoke to me and said, what are you gonna do? And I just said, okay, you win. I felt a weight lift off of me.
I'm Travis Purdy, an alcoholic in recovery dedicated to giving back to the community that saved me. Join me and my incredible guests on our mission to break the stigma around mental health. One conversation at a time. This is Listen to Your Heart. So today we have Aaron Larson here, program manager, Keikioka Aina.
Yep.
I had to ask him that again, so it's not like I knew that off the top of my head. Right. But yeah, Aaron, I'd like to start briefly on what kind of work you're doing now, and then we can do the origin story thing, which we love.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work for a nonprofit, Keikioka Aina. I'm a program manager, and so we have a program covering social emotional learning foundations. And so anything that can fit under that grant, programs and whatnot, I'm responsible for. So we go into the prisons, we go into the women's prisons, we're out at Waiava. We do life skills, parenting, healthy relationships as well. I also do a healthy relationships for teens program, which is focusing on helping teens develop healthy friendships, being able to make choices, and within those choices, how can they reach the goals that they're setting at post high school.
Very cool.
So that's where we're going. And there's a bunch of other stuff within that. And then my wife and I also pastor the young adults group at Christ-Centered Community Church. So we're working with that 18 to 27 age range as well.
Oh, okay. So from like the youth to the young adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, where are you from originally? How'd you get into the work of what you're doing now? I know it's like a...
Yeah. It's been a journey.
Sure.
If I can quote the Grateful Dead, it's been a long, strange trip. So I'm originally from Minnesota, little town, St. Peter, Minnesota, south central, southwestern Minnesota, a town of about 9,000 people, farm community. So that's where I was raised. But my mom was killed in a car accident when I was 6 years old, so out of the blue. What I learned later in life was that my parents were actually separated at that time and trying to reconcile. And then I learned even later than that is because my dad had an affair, and then they were trying to get back together. And it was just a freak accident. Actually happened like the day before Halloween or something like that. It was like close to that. And yeah, just kind of wrecked my world there at 6.
Gosh,
and here's the thing, never processed it. So Minnesota, Scandinavian, very much like an Asian culture. You don't talk about your feelings. You just go through
you
it.
Can't do that.
You put in the good face, and then you just do it. So I really had no mental health care at all after my mom passed away. Never sat down and talked with anybody about it. My dad would occasionally ask me, hey, like, so how are you doing? I didn't know how to articulate that at 6, 7, 8 years old. Then what happened is within a year after my mom being killed, my dad remarried. And the way I discovered it was, oh, hey, we're going to move from the town I was in at that time, which was Glencoe, to St. Peter. And this is Marilyn, and she's going to be staying with us for a while. So I'm 6 years old. That's the information I'm giving. I didn't realize my dad had been remarried. And turns out she was not ready for kids. I have an older brother, 5 years older than I am. And she was, I don't know, just not prepared for a family, like instant family or what. I've learned to give grace to her over the years. We haven't been in contact since like 1988.
Wow.
Yeah, but the big part for there was when I was probably 7 or 8, she started to become abusive. So it was a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of emotional abuse. And then as I grew older into my teenage years, there was some physical abuse as well. And the really sad part about it was she was studying to become either a psychologist or a counselor of some sort. And so I went really, really quickly into survival mode, probably around age 9 or 10, where my whole goal was to find out where my stepmom was in the house and avoid her at all costs. And it was bad on a daily basis, especially when I hit those tween years right before a teenage year. I would hear, you're no good, you're a problem, you're not worth anything, you're a bad influence on people, you're really never gonna go anywhere. And it's just horrible fights. And so obviously that affected my own view of myself. So I had my first drink when I was probably 13, and then, or maybe 12. And then I got drunk for the first time when I was 13 or 14. And then I just...
That part sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, right? That's kind of, it seems the modus operandus for us, right? This kind of happens, starts young too.
Yeah.
And similar story, I think, for most addicts is, man, it felt great. Like, wow,
Sure
pressure's gone. I don't care what people think about me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hyper and outgoing anyways, but that was like next level now. Like zero, like I got barely a filter now, zero filter at all, right? But
Talk about freedom, huh?
Yeah, right? And I love the way that it made me feel. And that just stuck with me. So by the time I was 15, I was definitely binge drinking on the weekends, trying to find whatever parties were going on, whoever had what, and just doing that. And then when I was 16, 17 is really when I started consistently smoking pot, really drinking a lot. And then into my senior year of high school, it went from, it was weekend binge drinking every single weekend. And then it went to, whatever I had left over, hiding under the car, my seat car, and then and trying to drink that, whether it was like at lunch or on the way to school or after school, and just kind of developed that pattern of behavior. So then things with my stepmom were progressively getting worse. And then when I graduated high school, the December after I graduated, my dad died of a massive heart attack.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so that basically sent me off the deep end. I was just getting to a point where I was trying to reconcile. It's not fair that my mom died. It's not fair that I'm living in this abusive environment. All the while this abuse stuff is happening, I'm not telling anybody. I'm just dealing it with myself. Never told my dad anything. Never told my brother anything. Family members, nothing at all.
Friends from school, just
nothing. So I just totally kept it to myself. Why? Because I was no good. It was my fault. I had nothing. I had nothing of value to give to anybody or the world. So obviously, I brought this upon myself, right? So as I'm wrestling with this whole concept of like, it's not fair that my mom was killed. It's not fair that I'm living in this. Then. I'll never forget it. I woke up one morning, it was like December 11th, December 12th, and I was getting ready to go skiing. And the last thing that my dad said to me was he came down as I'm getting in my car to go skiing. And I'm totally hungover from the night before, right? Just not in a good mood to begin with.
Sure.
And he's like, hey, leave a number where you can be reached at all day. I'm like, yeah, I got you, no worries. And that's the last thing I ever said to my dad. Drove out, and then at the ski hill, got a phone call that, hey, Dad's not doing well. He's in the hospital. You got to get up here right now. And then they kept him alive on the machine. Got up there, and then when the doctor came in and said, yeah, so he's not going to make it. You guys can go in and say your goodbyes. I just lost it. I bolted out of the waiting room, beat up a trash can, got lost in the hospital trying to get out, just raging. Finally got out, and just drove home. And it was at that point that I was just really decided that, what, life sucks. It's not worth it. And I remember sitting at my dad's funeral, and I drunk before I went to the funeral, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just filled with this hatred, this sense of loss, just this self-loathing, and really, I said, okay, if this is what life is, then we're gonna go. We're going to take it to 11, right? We're gonna go 100%, whatever we can do. And so here I was, 18 years old, and my decision was, if life is misery, I'm gonna do it. And this is how jacked up my thinking is right now, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna do everything in my power to make myself suffer as much as possible, because that is basically the essence of life. So if that's what it is, I'm gonna, whatever it takes.
I'm gonna be great at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the best, this crazy sufferer, off the charts person that I could possibly be. And then when I turned 19, after all the insurance and stuff was settled, we had land that we sold and divided up between my stepmom, my brother, and I. I was 19 years old. I had $89,000 in the bank, no job, and
dang, this is like What year was this?
This is 1989.
Oh man, yeah. So it's like
yeah.
it goes a little farther than it does now, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, do the math. Google that. Whatever
Whatever
the interest rate is or inflation is, and that money was completely gone within 2 years, and basically it was spent on alcohol, drugs, buying cars. I moved out to Colorado as a ski bum for a while, which would have been amazing if I wasn't in the state of mind that I was in.
Sure.
But again, that took my addiction and my drinking to another level as well. So then when I was flat broke, finally had to call my brother and say, I need money to move home. So he got me a rental truck, the little stuff that I had, and I just packed up and drove home. And fast forward really for the next probably 3 or 4 years, was just spent on just trying to drink as much as I could possibly do, smoke as much pot as I could possibly can. Somebody had a pill, I'd take it, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was getting really out of hand. I had a lot of close friends and some family members that were just like, what are you doing?
Like, yeah,
you're not gonna survive. And I was like, and so what's the big deal in that? Like, what's the point? It doesn't really matter. But by the grace of God, I was still alive. There was times where I had drunk so much that people were, putting a mirror up to my face to see if I was still breathing.
Yeesh,
just like totally insane. And then when I was 25, part of my story is a good friend of mine who, if you can believe it, was even more pessimistic about life than I was. Which,
at that time?
I'm like, what?
Okay.
We were living in Minneapolis, got into this crappy Ford Aerostar that I owned because I was doing some DJing, not DJing like they do now, just actually playing music at weddings and stuff like that.
Okay.
I had all my equipment in it. We drove down to Minneapolis, and as we're driving, I'm looking at him. I'm like, hey, Mark, I said, something big's going to happen tonight. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, no, seriously. So I was like, I'm going to meet a girl. I mean, so that's where my mind is at, right?
Yeah.
And as we go down, we go to this one bar, nothing's happening, end up at this other bar. I meet this girl, looking at her on the dance floor, and we ended up connecting, hooking up, and then meeting a couple days later. And this is where my life takes a radical turn, because here's this girl, and this young woman, and so she has this a similar experience in her life as I've had in mine. Mm-hmm. And so I'm asking her and her friend, like, how did you guys meet? And she says, oh, we dropped out of Bible college together. I'm like, what? Like Bible, Jesus stuff? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, you got to unpack that. Like, how does that happen? And she begins to share, like, hey, I grew up, abused. All this stuff is happening. She wasn't a full-blown addict, but she definitely had like
addict
substance,
tendencies.
addict tendencies and stuff like that. And so for me, what changed me at that point was, so she started to share Jesus with me. And at that point, I hated God. I blamed God for every issue that I had in my life. It was his fault that life is like this. My view of God was he was this manipulative being that would just put us in situations to see what would happen, to see what misery could be. And so that was my full view. So I hated God, hated myself. And here's this young woman who's given me an exact opposite view of life and of God than I had. Like, I wasn't raised in a Christian home or going to church or anything like that, right? So
that's what I thought was interesting about your story, because I just assumed, because I knew you were a pastor, and I know you pastored to this day.
Yeah.
I just assumed you grew up that way.
Absolutely not. Only time we ever went to church was Christmas and Easter, when we knew Grandma was going to be there.
Okay.
We wanted the candy, we wanted the presents, so we're going to show up at church, right? And the funny thing is, it was like this little Lutheran church in a town of, I kid you not, 200 people.
Oh, wow.
And so farm community. So like that was my view of what church was. Is, like old, schoolhouse looking thing. It was it was way off as I understand it today. But yes, but the amazing part of that was is that she had accepted me for where I was at. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I was in it because here's this hot girl. I'm just trying to hook up.
Right.
So I do not have righteous intentions at all. It's completely 100% self-motivated.
Sure.
I'm still drinking. I'm still using.
Yeah.
But she starts inviting me to church. She starts inviting me to these Bible studies. And I'm meeting all of these super eclectic people. There's this place in Minneapolis called Uptown.
Okay.
And it's like where all like the funky art people and just alternative lifestyle people meet. It's like it's the place you want to be if you're in Minneapolis, right? And there's this pastor and his wife had a Bible study. And I walk in, I'm still bitter, I'm still hating God. I'm only here because this beautiful girl asked me to be there. It's the only reason I'm there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm meeting all of these people from different walks of life. We got one person who's like a chemical engineer. She's wearing like a sweater vest, really super nerdy. Right next to her is this young girl with purple hair and a nose ring and like goth makeup. I'm just like, this doesn't compute. I don't understand how you all can be in the same room.
And this was Bible study.
Yeah,
not
I'm like, I know. I'm just like, right? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And that really began me reevaluating my view of who God is. And I remember I was looking into Buddhism, alternative religions, still drinking and using, still doing that. That was still in full force. And really God put into my path through that probably year or so, people who did not have an answer to my questions, but just said, okay, so if that's what you think and you're going to follow this path of life, how's that working for you? And of course, nothing was working for me. It didn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
I had all these great, like Nietzsche said, like, okay, great. Like you realize he died totally insane, right? You know, I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's not a good way to live, right? So I'm trying all these things, everything but one, surrendering my life, taking a good evaluation of that I am going to die pretty soon if I continue to live this way. And I began to start caring about that. And I remember one day, it was after this Bible study, and I walked into my room, and kid you not, Lord spoke to me and said, okay, Aaron, so what are you going to do? You've been living this life for this long. You've looked at alternative philosophies, theologies, religions, and you've stepped into the truth. So what's your choice going to be? And I just went, all right, you win. And I kid you not, at that moment, I remember standing in my room in the doorway, and I just said, okay, you win. And I physically felt a weight lift off of me. And I was like, all of a sudden, I began to hear, you have hope. You're not disposable. You have a purpose. And I'd never heard that consistently or to this degree or that powerfully ever. And at that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I think things are going to be okay. Now, I didn't stop using, I didn't stop drinking, but I began to start altering my thinking and start going, okay, what is this relationship with Jesus about? Like, I don't want answers, but I want significance. I want purpose. I want meaning. I want to know that I am not disposable, because that's what I was told most of my life growing up.
Yeah.
So, boom, stop drinking, stop using. All right.
Okay.
It was good. So now fast forward in this time frame then, and this young woman I was with would say, thank God we broke up. It was good for both of us. Okay.
Okay.
And fast forward, I meet my wife, Kareen. We get married. We're living in Hawaii. At that time, I'm working for a different nonprofit where we're doing, it's a non-denominational missions organization. I'm running a biblical studies school now, training up people, sending them to work with different organizations all over the world, and do whatever support work, whether it's orphanages, all this kind of stuff, right? Also teach other people how to read the Bible and stuff.
Super cool.
Yep. And so things are going well.
Yeah.
And then in 2011, I'm dropping my kids off at school. I have 3 kids, now ages 22, 20, and 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So while they were in middle school, I get this call from my wife, and she's like, "You've got to come home right now." And I can hear in her voice like there's something's wrong. I'm like, okay. She's like, I got the test results from my doctor. So she did her annual exam, mammogram, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they found a lump. And I'm like, hey, it's going to be okay. Don't worry. Drop the kids off. I go, we set up the appointment, find an oncologist, go in, they run the tests, and doctor calls and say, hey, I want you guys to come in and get the results. And so we drive in and we sit down, and the doctor's like, yeah, you've got breast cancer. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Sheesh.
like what? My wife eats right. She was exercising, no history of cancer anywhere in her family at all. So this is literally out of left field. Like this was never even on our radar that this would even come up. Like I'm thinking if someone's getting sick, I would be the one who would get sick. Like I'm the one who's put this stuff in my bodies. I don't even know why I'm still alive, much like healthy, right?
Yeah.
So we processed through that. We started dealing with that, got everything in place. During that time, shortly after, I think it was like bending down to pick something up off the ground, and my back just tweaked, my lower back. So I go into the doctor. Turns out I've got compressed vertebrae. I've got arthritis in my L4, L5. They're like, it's going to fuse together probably by the time you're 60. So at this time, this is what, 2012, what do doctors do if you've got back pain?
Oh, man. Opioids.
They give you opioids, right?
Yeah.
So what I learned from you guys was that when you take that opioid, even if you've been clean, it activates the same part of your brain that alcohol does.
Right.
And so I remember going in, if I'm going to be completely honest, which I'm trying to be, if I'm going to be completely honest, when I went in, there was this thought in the back of my mind that I'm going to get painkillers. I got all this stress going on in my life. I'm like, I remember it might not be too bad. I'm not thinking I'm gonna like go into full relapse and like totally start ruining my whole family's life, but that thought was in the back of my mind. And if I think about it, there was kind of an adrenaline rush. There was an excitement, right? I'm just like, let's get through it. Yeah, get through the exam. Okay, all this is jacked up. Doc, how are you gonna help me? Oh, well, I can give you some opioids. I'm like, sounds good. Yeah, well, so we'll start you off on the lowest dose. I'm like, bummer. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm just honest. That was my reaction.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
And so here's the key thing is, even though I'd stopped using and drinking, my addictive thinking and those habits were still there.
Absolutely.
And that's the big key is that I had really taken my addictive personality and I had transferred it to more healthy endeavors, but I never fixed those spaces in my emotions and in my brain that were the triggers for dealing with stress. I didn't have healthy coping mechanisms. Because again, I just stopped drinking and using and just jumped into life going, hey, life is great. I'm worth something.
I'm on a mission now.
I'm on a mission now. I can do something. Yeah. And I'm seeing positive outcomes from that, seeing other people's lives change, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I remember getting that prescription, going right to the drugstore, this chain of drugstores now became my dealer for the next 6 years.
Sure.
And just getting that, I remember taking it and going, it's okay. Taking another one going, it's a little bit better, right? Kind of plowed through that first 30
Oh, yeah, I bet.
relatively quickly. Call up my doctor again. Hey, my back is still really hurting as we're still doing tests on what I should do, starting going to maybe do physical therapy.
PT or whatever. Yeah, right.
And he's like, well, we'll try maybe the next dose. I said, Doc, my back. And it did hurt, but that was not my motivation.
Sure.
I was like, I'm loving the way that this feels. Absolutely. I want as many opioids as you can get and give me the strong, like this Vicodin stuff is okay. Like, where's the Oxy? Give me something that's going to make a difference, right? And so I convinced him to give me the highest dose he could possibly have and give me the full 30 pill prescription for it, right? I'm just like, we're off and rolling now.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
So to combine with this, within this time frame, I also get diagnosed with, I already know I had ADHD, right? But I'd never been officially diagnosed. So I went through all the tests and all that, got diagnosed with ADHD. So I'm now on methylphenidate as well, right? So man, I'm working the poor man's speedball at this time, right? I'm doing the uppers, right, to keep me going, and then overdoing the opioids, right, so I'm trying to find that balance on a daily basis. And so, long story short, from 2012 to 2013, I went from about 155 pounds down to about 125 pounds, right?
Wow.
So I'm pastoring at a church at this time, an associate pastor at a local church here. I'm kind of odd anyway, so people are like, you're a little bit more odd than usual, but we'll give you grace.
Within the realm.
It's within your parameters, Aaron. You're
like,
still
Aaron.
not. It's okay. So that's where I'm at, and I've gone now from seeing now specialists. So I've got 2 or 3 doctors on the line, not knowing that they're both giving me prescription opiates. I know all my friends who've had a tooth procedure, who've got leftover opioids. I know other people who have leftover ADHD medication because they're not using it. I'm like, hey, you know what? I just ran out. Can I get some more? So I'm totally lying to these people. I'm totally manipulating them so I can get what I need to get, right?
Yeah.
So by the time that October of 2013 came, down to about 125 pounds, like my physical therapist is looking at me and going, I can see every single one of your vertebrae.
Oof.
Like, I'm nothing but skin and bones. Like, people are going, are you okay? So they think it's the stress of, hey, my wife's got cancer. She's going through treatment. I'm trying to work. They give me great grace and all this, as well as maintain the family.
Right,
Everything that has to
raising the
go.
kids,
Yeah.
all the things.
And so, so it finally came to a head where I had, this is so funny because I just think about sitting down with Dr. Nikki all the time and telling her, she's just like, you cannot detox yourself. I'm like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't want anybody to know that I'm hooked on these opioids. I started drinking a little bit again to just kind of mellow stuff out when I could.
Yeah.
There was another prescription that they gave me I was taking as well. I can't even remember what it was. It's for like nerve pain, right?
Oh.
And so I'm taking, not that it's about the numbers, but this is how crazy it was. So I was taking 15 to 20 Vicodin or Oxy a day. I was trying to balance it out by snorting my methylphenidate as well as taking as many of the pills as I could to just stay vertical.
Yeah.
To then also taking about 25 to 30 of this other medication as well.
Sheesh.
And the combination of it, I'm like, I can't believe that I didn't die or have a seizure
heart
or
attack of some sort
something
or
like that,
whatever,
right?
Yeah.
But I can't believe I was actually functioning at this, right? But I was still functioning. I had detoxed myself from everything probably 3 times, not willingly, but I had gone through my prescription so fast that none of the doctors would refill it. It got so bad that I would actually go into Long's. I don't know if I can say that, but that's where I was going to get my stuff. Fix it in post. I would go into the drugstore. I have no prescription. My doctor hasn't called it in. And I would just go, oh, maybe it'll be there. And I would go, hey, I'm Aaron here to pick up. And the pharmacist is looking at me like, nobody called in your prescription. I'm like, oh, are you sure? Can you check again? I mean, out of my mind.
Wow.
Just like so obsessed and addicted. And so so finally the third time around, I'm freaking out. I'm in catastrophic thinking. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to find out. My wife is going to leave me. My kids are going to hate me. They're going to fire me. Oh my gosh, CPS is going to come and take my kids away. Oh my gosh, I'm going to end up going to jail. And so all of this thinking is just in full force. So I called up a really good friend of mine and I'm just like incoherently rambling all this stuff to him. And he's like, Aaron, just calm down. He lives in California. He's like, Aaron, just calm down. He goes, it's going to be okay. You've got to get help. You've got to let somebody know. So I did. This is another, I had so many divine interventions in this time. It's like miracles do happen. So I'm sitting, freaking out. And side note, the last sermon that I gave at this church where I had invited a bunch of my friends who just moved back to Island to come to, I was literally going through withdrawals. So I'm on stage before I'm supposed to go out to speak and give this sermon, and I'm shaking, I'm sweating, I can barely keep my hands from shaking, and then I go out in front of like 400 or 500 people and deliver the most incoherent message ever given on a stage anywhere. I come back around and my friends are like, yeah, that was interesting, Aaron. I mean, it was just awful. I mean, but again, I was just so, hey, I can fake it till I make it. Hey, I've got everybody snowed. Nobody has to, I can get through this, right? So it came down to a point where getting ready to go into staff meeting, I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't know what I'm going to do. I go into staff meeting. I'm like, I'm going to go late so I don't have to sit by the boss, right? And of course, the only chair open in our staff meeting is the one by the boss.
Right next to the boss. Yeah.
Come on. So I go in. I just got this super bad attitude. I'm just trying to not make eye contact. I'm trying not to just shake and sweat out of my skin. And he goes, hey, we're going to do this kind of devotion as a staff today. But he goes, I really feel like the Lord wants to bring out this verse. And he brings out this verse from the Old Testament that says, a bent reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not extinguish. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? And that was exactly for me. It's exactly what I needed to hear. And what the Lord was speaking to me in that moment was like, Aaron, like you're bending. I'm not going to allow you to break. This is not the end. You're not going to lose everything. There is that smoldering heat of life still there. I'm not going to extinguish it. And so now here again, I'm experiencing the grace, the love in the moment of the Lord. staff meeting breaks out, end up grabbing him and go like, listen, I'm addicted to opioids. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need help, right? And so, again, got a little bit of help, started going to some NA meetings, some AA meetings, repaired the relationship with my wife because she had no idea at all. And she knew my history of addiction and all that, but she's like, oh, you've been free and clear. And I'd never had an issue from the time I had met her up until this time.
Yeah.
So at this point, we've been married about 13 years, 14 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And so again, I was good. Went about 6 months, getting healthier, gaining weight again. I'm functioning properly. So I'm just like, yeah, I can have a beer. Again, my addictive thinking, it's going to be okay. I'm not that person anymore.
Right.
People know that I had an issue. I've got the grace and forgiveness. Yeah. I had willingly stepped out of that position because I was in no state to be leading anybody. And so, so I'm getting healthy again. And one beer every once in a while. Now it's a couple of beers every once in a while. Then I had some friends who were into like wine, or not wine, like scotch and whiskey and stuff like that. It's like, hey, we're gonna have I'll come over. So pretty soon that went from maybe
it's a social thing.
Yeah, once a month. Just it's like, I got this new whiskey, and like, oh yeah, it tastes good. Yeah, can I have some more? Right? Yeah. I went from that to me calling them up, going, hey, we should get together, and then that's like every week, and they're just like, no, we can't today. I'm like, okay. To now, my wife sees that I'm drinking, but I'm not off the rails. Mm-hmm. So now I'm buying stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm drinking and still on my ADHD medication, right? And then I convinced my doctor again, hey, just give me a couple of pills because my back hurts. And again, I'm starting to actively lie again. Hey, I got to go to the main line for something. You know how when you're on the plane, he's like, I totally understand. Yeah, I'll get this. You're going to be okay. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, totally. I'm good. Everybody knows, everything's fine. And I used the fact that he knew I was a pastor. I used that to be able to pull the wool over his eyes and to totally manipulate him, right? And this is right before all of the things came down on doctors and the whole big pharma and all the right there. And again, truth be told, when that happened, I was like, dang it, man. You know how hard it's going to get opioids now, from a doctor, right? Yeah. So, and the only thing that kept me from going out on the street and getting them or getting really heroin or anything like that was that people recognized me simply because of our church had a TV station. So, and it was a fairly large church. And so it was hard for me to go anywhere where someone's like, hey, Pastor Aaron. Like a couple of times I got busted going into liquor stores by people who used to go to the church. They're like, why are you going in there? Like, I'm just grabbing a Coke. I'm like, why are you going to a liquor store when there's a convenience store across the street, right? Yeah. So the lies are still happening. So then that snowballed really, really quickly to where now what I'm doing is trying to find out who's got opioids. I re-upped my ADHD medication without telling my wife, right? So I'm getting that again. Again, right back into snorting, taking as much as I can, get opioids every once in a while. But my drinking then went to every single day. So we're looking at probably 2014. Got a job at a different church now. I'm drinking on my way to work. I'm drinking at lunch. I'm drinking on my way home. Ooh, yeah. And it's really, really bad. So got to a point where now that job fell through because I wasn't doing my job. Did not tell my wife for 3 months that I didn't have a job there anymore.
So she thought you were just still going to work every day.
She thought I'm going to work every day. Right. And these guys were so gracious enough to actually tell me, hey, we're going to, eliminate your position, but we'll pay you till December, give you an opportunity to have a paycheck so you can find another job. I'm like, these guys were so amazing, right? Yeah. Again, they don't know I'm drinking and using. So they're just like, oh, it's not working out.
They were just really cool to try and help you transition.
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
They thought they were doing, yeah.
And then one time my wife saw me coming home early. I'm like, oh, I thought she was going to work. And she's like, what are you doing home? I'm like, I'm just going to get some stuff or whatever. Finally comes out, I'm like, I don't have a job there anymore. And so she's obviously like, why are you lying? What's going on? All this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I'm just stressed out. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to recover from everything that happened before. It'll work out. So that goes in. And right after that is when it really amped up to the daily drinking. And I remember getting up at like 5:30 so I could walk down the street to the gas station because they start serving liquor at 6, right? This is a well-known story in the addict community, right? The alcoholic community. And getting there.
6, yes.
Got to the point where I'd walk in the gas station, they'd just reach behind the counter and put whatever I wanted because they knew what I wanted, and I'd get it, right? But I had to come up with a hustle because I can't, we have a limited income, right? So I'm like, I got to put gas in the car. The car needs oil, right? I probably would have put like 1,000 quarts of oil in this car if it was true for what I was doing. That just went on, and it got worse, and it got to a point where I'm now working back for that original nonprofit, where I was running the biblical study school.
Yeah.
So now my wife and I got invited in to run a different school there, right? Again, nobody knows the state that I'm in. My fights with my wife are getting worse and worse and worse. I knew it was an issue because my wife is, she can put up with a lot, obviously, right? But I knew it was getting really bad where at one point we were in our bedroom yelling and screaming at one another, right? Because I'm still lying about what's going on. I'm still lying about everything. And she's on the floor in the corner weeping and crying and so frustrated that she turns and punches a full-length mirror and it just shatters. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening to our life? Like, how did we get to this place, right? Not to mention, like, the kids are hearing these arguments. They're like, what's going on? Yeah. My oldest son, who was just a teenager at the time, who was very non-confrontational, he could tell something was up. When he would hear us arguing, he wouldn't even knock. He would just open the door, would ignore me, and ask, Mom, are you okay? And then she'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. And then he would just shut the door. Like, my relationships were rapidly deteriorating. I knew I had an issue and a problem, but I didn't know what to do. There was so much shame. I went back to that old thinking. I am worthless. Like, there's no way I can fix this. Like, again, catastrophic thinking. Oh my gosh. They're going to take my kids. My wife is going to leave me. I'm going to be like, what am I going to do? Like, my life is falling apart. They're going to throw me into like an insane asylum and they're never going to let me out. Like, these were the rapid thoughts going through my head at all times. I was barely functioning when it came to my family life, but I was putting on a good face and doing what I could in the work life, right? So nobody really suspected much.
Yeah.
So it came to a point then where Corinne found a full bottle in my bag, this big bottle of vodka. I'm like, oh, no. I took that off of somebody else because you remember they had an issue and they wanted help. And so I took it from them. Oh, okay. She's like, that's rational, makes sense. I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'll get rid of it. Don't throw it away. And then she found an empty bottle. And then she's like, what's going on? So finally came up to where she was asking other people, hey, so like there's something off with Aaron. And our other friends are going, yeah, there's something definitely going. I had one friend that's basically came out and said, dude, he's using, just plain and simple. He's on something, just call him on it already. Like, stop beating around the bush or whatever. During this time as well, I was probably drinking 1 liter of vodka a day. That was what I was doing. And then my ADHD medication, if I could get opioids, doing that. But in the in-between times, I was cutting myself. So I'd go into the bathroom and I'd take a razor blade from one of those single thing razors, and I would just cut all the way up and down my arm, right? I was cutting on my hip, on my side, on my rib cage. Just trying to get by. What I could do then is when I would cut myself, I could hyper focus on the pain and on that, and then I could obsessively work on covering that up. So my mind was taken off, hey, getting the drugs or getting the drinks, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Again, totally hiding that, right? How you hide that in Hawaii when it's like 80 degrees in the summer and I'm wearing flannel long sleeve shirts, I don't know, but I got away with it. So it finally came up to where my wife was like, okay, listen, something's going on. And my friends just said, hey, listen, you found the bottle again. Yeah, we smelled alcohol in his breath. He's obviously drinking. Yeah. She's like, I got to confront him. And they're like, wait for him to admit it to you. Just like, you know what's going on. You keep safe. The kids keep safe. I knew it was getting really, really bad when one of our good friends, Dean Kaneshiro, he started walking alongside our family and really taking care of Kareen and the kids, and our whole community surrounded us. And like she would call him sometimes at night just going, Aaron is like, and I'm blackout drunk so much. Like I don't remember any of these arguments or most of this stuff happening.
Dang. Yeah.
And he's like, dude, like she would call me and I could hear you raging in the background. He's like, it was so ridiculous. And so they came over a couple of times and, mediated stuff and were meeting with us and meeting with me. And at one point he's just like, Aaron, I'm gonna tell you right now. I told Kareen the next time you do that her second phone call is to us. Her first phone call is to HPD because like you are out of control. Like you can't continue to do this, and like we can't help you unless you want to help yourself. That was a sobering moment for me because here's these people who loved us, loved our family, and they're saying, no, it's the police. That if it comes to that where you have to get arrested, then we're not going to bail you out either. We'll be here for you, but it's out of control. I'm still trying to justify it. I mean, that's kind of a wake-up call, but I'm like, it's going to be okay. Like I can get through this. But the moment that it came to fruition that I was doing this was she had found another empty bottle. She had conferred, all this kind of stuff, another God moment. So I'm driving back home from somewhere, probably from getting liquor or somewhere. And I am just screaming out to God in my car because I'm like, I can't handle this anymore. Like, what's going to happen? I can't do this. And I'm literally yelling out to God, just break me because I am not going to release this. I'm telling you right now, I'm taking this to the grave. I cannot let go of what's going on in my life. You have to break me. And the Lord speaks to me. And he says in the most gentle voice ever, he goes, Aaron, you know that it's all going to come crashing down now. I said, yeah. He goes, okay. And that was it.
Wow.
I pull into our driveway.
Yeah.
Go into the house, and Kareen says, I need to talk to you. I'm like, oh, okay, right? So we go down to this other room, and we sit down, and she goes, what's going on? I'm like, what? She's like, Aaron, what's going on? I turned into like a 13-year-old kid. My hands are in my pocket. I'm like, oh no, nothing. And she's like, Aaron, what is going on? And I flat out I'm like, nothing. And she stands up. She walks up to me. She puts her finger in my face and she goes, you're a liar, and just walks out of the room. So I didn't know she'd found the bottles, that they came up with this plan, let him confess it or whatever. So they end up going to church that day. I'm like, I'm not going. I stay home. I get drunk, cut myself. I send her a picture of my cut arm, and I say, this is what's going on, right? Did not know this till later. It was in that moment. They were doing worship. She's having her prayer time. She's like, I got to call Aaron. I got to find out what's going on. And the Lord's like, no, just don't wait. Don't worry about it. Just wait. Literally, she gets done praying that prayer. My text message comes in. I confessed I've been drinking. I'm abusing the medication again. I've been cutting myself. And so then begins the slow road to actually getting clean and sober again. Yeah. Tried to do an intensive outpatient here. I think that at that point I had stayed sober for 10 days.
What year is this?
So this would have been 2018. Okay. So this is like February of 2018, everything comes crashing down. I make it about 10 days. I'm supposed to go to this intensive outpatient 3 times a week, right? And you got to check in, you got to do the P test, not the greatest situation in the world, right?
I went to that.
Okay, yeah, right? I'm not ready, right? I'm not listening to what they have. I desperately want to stop, but I still have the addictive thinking. So obviously the physical cravings are gone because it's been like 10 days. So that's out of my system. I still don't have anything in my mindset to help me actually have a structure of getting and staying sober.
Stay that way, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to NA meetings. I'm going to AA meetings and things like that. So I'm kind of finding my way around. Start drinking again. Again, I'm not telling anybody. I'm like, yeah, doing this or whatever. That went real quick, real fast. Hit another rock bottom, and my wife just basically says, listen, you got to pull your head out of your okole, and you need to figure out what you need to do because I'm not putting up with this. She's like, I'm not going to divorce you, but if this continues, me and the kids, we're out of your life.
Can't be around you.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, I'm going to leave. She's like, you're out. I ain't going anywhere. Yeah. You created this mess. You're going to figure it out somewhere else. So I end up, again, arguments, fights, still lying, still drinking, just, going full bore. Finally comes up to where my cousin finds out about it on the mainland, and we're like brothers. We grew up together. And he's like, hey, listen, I got a plane ticket waiting for him. It's a one-way plane ticket to Minnesota. Get him here. We'll get him into rehab. Just get him here. So I learned about this. I go to Karina. I'm like, so what do you think? She's just like, whatever you need to do. And just turns around, walks into the bedroom. So get it set up. Treatment's not cheap.
Yeah, treatment is not cheap.
And the whole insurance thing, they should have taken my insurance, even though it was out of state and all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. They didn't, like most of the insurances. Now, this is my viewpoint, so it may not be 100% correct. I just want to throw that out there. But from what I understood with the process, okay, they didn't want to process the paperwork of an out-of-state client. So I'm like, can't find, I don't have 30 grand. Right. To go to a rehab, right? Because Hazelden's in Minnesota, like they're world famous for their treatment, right? And they're just like, we can get you in for like maybe 28 grand for a month. I'm like, I've got like $10 to my name, okay? I'm like, I'm a pastor. I'm working for a nonprofit where I'm not getting paid, right? I'm like, and there's like, oh, sorry, and nothing bad on them. I mean, it's a situation that I'm in.
Right.
So my brother picks me up at the airport, brings me to his place. I've got a coverage of about 10 square foot in the corner of his house where my cell phone actually works. So they're making calls to different places. I'm calling all of these people on this. Oh, call this place, call this place. I mean, Minnesota has like a ton of treatment centers, right? It's like all over the place. I don't know what's going on in Minnesota, but we're the place to go if you need issues, right? If we have issues. So I'm trying to find out. I can't find it. Can't afford this. Can't afford that. Can't afford that. I'm literally down to my last phone call. And it's ironically at this hospital that I used to work at like 25 years ago, right before I moved out to Hawaii. And they have a detox program where, hey, it's like you can get detox like $200, and then depending on your situation, they can help find a treatment center for you to go into. Like they'll do that footwork for you, and they'll get you connected. I'm like, okay, this is going to be it. So I talk to the intake nurse, I explain my situation, and she's like, we can detox you. It'll be about $200, but none of the places that we work with are going to take your insurance. I'm telling you right now. She's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, this is it. I'm done. Like my plan was I'm going to get into the car. That wasn't even mine. Yeah. And I'm just going to drive. I'm just gone. I'm gone. It's over. I was resolved to that fact. And then I'm pleading. I'm like, what am I going to do? And she's like, oh, wait a minute. I've got, there's this young woman that you can call. She's helped people in your situation before. I'm like, okay. So I get the number and I call it, and this young woman answers, and I can tell that she's driving. And I'm like, I just went, hey, my name's Aaron. I'm from Hawaii. I'm a pastor. I'm working for this non-denominational organization. And I said what the name of the organization was. Or no, I didn't even say that. I said I work for a non-denominational organization. It's a missions thing. And she goes, oh, do you work for YWAM? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, she goes, no way. I totally love YWAM. I have friends in YWAM. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm trying to get into treatment. I can't find anything. And she just stops and she goes, Aaron, God's got you. It's going to be okay. Don't have a plan. Don't have anything. That's like the first words out of her mouth.
Wow.
She goes, it's going to be all right. She goes, all right, this is your number. I'm like, yeah. She goes, I got a couple of people I'm going to call. And I have a network of people that can look at a bunch of different places. I'll get back to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Literally my last phone call. So I hang up and I'm just reeling in this. She calls back like 20 minutes later. Wow. Okay, here. Long story short, over a couple of days, none of her network was actually able to take my insurance again, right? She goes, all right, I've got one last option. There's this place called The Retreat. It's a 12-step recovery program. It's 28, 30 days long. They don't take insurance, which means they don't charge a ton of money. You got to be detoxed before you go in, but they only charge, at that time was like $5,000 for the month. Again, I have zero money, right? Yeah. Zero money. And my wife's just like, she had already taken out a different bank account, so none of my bank cards had access to any money that we had in there anyways. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay. She goes,
I'm going to try to get you in. I can't promise you anything, but let me make some phone calls. So she calls a friend of hers, shares my story. She's like, I'm going to get him in. She talks to the board and everybody at this place, shares my story, and they're like, we'll hold the bed for him.
Wow.
I'm like, are you kidding me? This is all like within 3 or 4 days of me landing in Minnesota, right? And the only stipulation was I had to have half the money down. So I had to have $2,500 in before they would let me come in. They go, you have a bed. Yeah, you have a bed. Don't even worry about it. We're not going to give it away. You're totally fine. But we're not, addicts, we're not exactly reliable. So there were some boundaries on actually getting in there. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm calling friends. I let Corrine know. She's like, okay, that's great. Find out how you're going to get that money because you're not taking any of our money. I'm like, okay. This young woman who helped me get into this place and started this whole process on that phone call, she's like, hey, you know what? I talked to some friends of mine who are in YWAM, and I've talked to my parents, and they want to give you money towards this. I'm like, what? I'm like, why? They're like, hey, I just shared your story, and they just want to help you out. I'm like, wow. Are you kidding me? So they had obviously a direct account to the retreat, so it's not like I'm getting the money and then paying them. Right? Again, can't trust addicts. Yeah. So it took about 10 days, and I had half the money in.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I was able to step in and actually go to this place, right? I get in there, and again, this is totally God. I get in there, they have a bed for me. So this is June 12th of 2018, right? June 12th of 2018. Had my last drinks, because I knew I was gonna okay, so at midnight, it's a new day. So I was I was staying at my cousin's place at this time, in his garage, drinking beers and Captain Morgan up until 1 minute to midnight. And I said, all right, those are my last drinks, right? Yeah. And I was just maintenance drinking. I wasn't drinking like as much as I was before, because you're supposed to be detoxed before you go in. Yeah. Went in, got set up. They partner you with somebody in there. The person they partner me with is this pastor from the south side of Chicago who'd been in there about 10 days, 2 weeks already. So they connect me with somebody that I can already relate to, right? Yeah. And then the big moment came, again, another God moment. So I'm in there maybe 3 days, and on that day they have a big book study. And so somebody comes in, reads out of the big book, starts unpacking it. We have questions to answer. We have discussions at our table. Yeah. So I'm sitting at this table with my fellow recovery people, and they're actually going through the chapter of to the agnostic, right? Which is actually one of my favorite chapters in the big book. Cool. And they're going through it, and the person who's leading the big book study, rightly so from what she was sharing, not too hot on the church or Christians. So there was all of these side comments of like, because Christians think this, and like, oh, like this. And so I'm seeing this woman next to me, this young woman next to me, and her name is Marie, and she's like, yeah. She looks at me, yeah, Christians suck. I'm like, I do not disagree with that. Right? She doesn't know I'm a Christian. She doesn't know I'm a pastor, right? Yeah. And then the lady says something else. She's like, freaking A, man. Like, right? I'm just like, yeah, I actually agree with that as well, right? And so I'm getting a little nervous here, right? Because I'm just like, so we start moving on, and I look at her. I say, Marie, I'm a Christian. She goes, get the F out of here. I'm like, no, I'm a pastor. She's like, what? She goes, we're talking after this, right? I'm like, oh my gosh. God speaks to me. He's like, this is your moment of choice, Aaron. Are you going to fully surrender to me and allow what I'm going to do through the retreat to restore your life? Or are you going to start pretending again? Are you going to be somebody that you're not so that you can be accepted by other people? Are you going to pretend to be doing something so you can look like, oh, you're the best at doing recovery, Because that's what I was saying. I'm like, who am I going to be when I'm here, right? Because I'm still in that mode of lying and manipulating and not wanting to people really see who Aaron is, because no one's going to love me. No one's going to like me. Look what I've done to my family. Look what I've done to my life. Look how I've lied and manipulated others. And so meeting gets over. She turns to me. She goes, okay, wait a minute now. And she starts rapid firing all these questions to me. And I'm like, yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, no, I do believe that. Yeah, I do believe that. And I said, well, I say, you know what? I totally understand where you're coming from. I said, the church has not been really great with people that they don't agree with or who are living different lifestyles or even addicts, right? A lot of judgment comes. I totally understand that. I said, but all the things you listed out, I would have to be honest with you. I totally agree with them. But the way I would communicate that to people would be in love and grace. I would never judge anybody. I'm like, look at where I'm at. I have no reason or place to judge anybody. And I said, are we cool? And she's like, freaking A, yeah, man. And again, that weight was lifted because I was like, oh my gosh, I was open and honest with another human being. I wasn't trying to manipulate or trying to be somebody that I'm not. And I was just full out that, yeah, I believe those things, but this is where I'm at. And this person accepted me. And that was it. I mean, that was just that 30 days in the retreat was just unbelievable. Got out, came back and started this very, 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 very slow process of making amends, rebuilding relationships with my wife, and my kids, right? And one of the hardest things was when I got back, my wife, I sat down and I said, listen, I'm going to make amends and I'm going to ask forgiveness from you, but I don't expect you to extend it to me, and you don't have to. And I said, there's no way I can ever make up for what I put you and the kids through, the way I treated you. Because again, blackout drunk, I don't remember 90% of the arguments that we had or the vicious, malicious, horrible things that I said to her. And I was told by her and by friends, like, dude, this is what you were doing. I'm like, I don't remember. I'm like, I cannot believe, that's not me, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, but I will do my best to not be that person anymore, because I know that's not who I am. And for the first time coming out of the retreat, working the 12 steps, doing a 4-step inventory, taking the steps to process, share that with God and another human being, and being ready to step into making amends. I now had a structure. And what I love about the 12 steps is that it connected me more deeply with Jesus than I had ever been in my life. And it's the structure, and it's what's behind how Bill W. and Dr. Bob came up with the 12 steps, and that it's a spiritual malady that we have. Like, we can fix ourselves. We cannot do the right thing. We cannot do the wrong things. We can have the right mindset, but there's something deep within us that is so flawed and so off that if we don't address that issue, we're going to be a dry drunk that nobody wants to be around, or we're going to have continual relapses, because it's not just about the structure, it's about the fellowship and about doing that hard work and surrendering. And I have in my phone, when I first got back, I put in my phone, like, daily surrender. I'm daily surrendering. And now it's in my phone. It comes up every single day, twice a day, and it says this: Lord, I'm going to step into whatever you have prepared for me today. I'm taking it one day at a time. I do my best to not worry about tomorrow.
Love it.
Today's troubles are enough for today. And I know that I'm not alone. I got family and friends around me. I've got the Lord with me, and that's how I approach every situation. Now, I don't do it perfectly. I still freak out.
Sure, human.
I still have anxiety.
Yeah.
I still have moments of catastrophic thinking, but I'm able to reel it in, right? I got an AA home group, getting to know people that share that. But I worked my butt off doing the steps, and I continually do it. So I'm 6 years clean and sober as of June 12th this year.
Congratulations.
Thank
man.
you.
Hell yeah.
And I'm working my butt off to do it, right? And sometimes I have an emotional or mental relapse where I kind of revert back to that old thinking. And I know that, hey, but I quickly get back on track. I quickly make the amends that I need to do. And I'm more open to listening to what my wife says, right? And to not always stonewalling her or reacting to her, right? And I'm not playing the victim as well. And that's the weird part about addiction is, it's a disease.
Yes.
But I made choices within that.
Yeah.
And I can't explain how that works. And I don't even try to explain it. If you think it's a disease, great. If you don't, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue into the point that, it is a disease, right? Doesn't matter. What matters is there is a solution. What matters is there are steps in place and things that we can do that actually help us. And the key to that, the only reason, God's sovereignty and grace notwithstanding, the only reason I'm alive that my wife loves me and we have the best marriage ever, way better than when we first met and when we were first married. The reason that my kids love me and want to be around me is because I had a community that wouldn't let me quit. They didn't give up on me, right? And you, Dr. Nikki, is a huge part of that. Like, I was freaked out when I came in that first time I'm just like, there's no way I'm trusting this woman. Absolutely not. I mean, she's totally awesome. I mean, totally amazing, right?
Right.
And just being able to share this stuff, right? And like, you know, at that time when I first started meeting with her, it was before I went to rehab, right? So I was drinking a little bit before I came in, and she'd be like, so how much have you had to drink? I was like, dang, man, you just get right to it. Okay. All right, this is legit. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, maybe half a bottle of wine. Like, okay, that's great, you know. Didn't hold it against me. Didn't say I was doing anything wrong. Was just asking me those questions. And again, that kind of like, well, how is that working for you? Like, well, it's not. That's why I'm here.
Right.
Duh, right?
Yeah.
Even having to admit to her that I was cutting, right? She's like, so do you have anything else going on? Like the first time or second time? No, first time that we met. Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm good. She's like, usually alcoholism comes with like, you know, some side baggage and addictions. I'm like, no, it's just, you know, I'm not doing anything else. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah. Because I'm like, I tell you that I'm cutting, you're calling the police, they're taking my kids, my wife's leaving me, I'm in a loony bin. Right. Again, my catastrophic thinking at full force. Yeah. And then next time I came in, I was like, okay, Dr. Nikki, I lied to you. She's like, okay, you know, not surprised, right? Yeah. It's like, you work with addicts long enough, you're used to this, right? And I said, and I showed her my arm. I said, yeah, I've been cutting. Right? So I'm waiting for it now. I'm like, okay, great. You know, you're a horrible person. And like, okay, you know, yeah, we got him here. Come and take him away. And she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, no. Did you hear what I said? And she's like, yeah. So like, why do you think you were doing it? I'm like, oh, okay. So I kind of shared. She goes, okay, yeah. Anything else? Because I totally know why you're doing it, but I want to hear, you know, your version. Okay. So I told her. And she's like, yeah, not a big deal. I'm like, what? She's like, no, not a big deal for you. She goes, and then she unpacked, hey, this is probably, I'm like, that's exactly why I was doing it. Like, yeah. That's totally, like, you get it. And she's like, I'm like, so? She's like, are you doing it anymore? I'm like, no. She goes, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure she went like full circle with the whole thing and like safety plan style, whatever. Yeah.
So
I need to get back to
right. And so and it's great just in putting in those safety plans and like, do other people know? I'm like, yes, I have accountability in this. Other people know, so it's not like I'm hiding it from everybody. I'm just now hiding it from you. But it's so gracious and just so well, and that was an amazing grounding. And that's where, you know, a couple of times she gave me scoldings. And it's the only time when I told her I got back from rehab, right? And like, how's it going? And we were meeting and all this kind of stuff. I said, yeah. I said, you know, right before I went to rehab, I was auditory and visually hallucinating. And she's like, what? You know, she gets that look on her face, like, what? I'm like, what? I'm like, she's like how often? I'm like, oh, all the time. There was one night, it was like 2 a.m. and I'm walking around and I kept on telling Kareen, don't you hear the voices? Don't you hear those guys? They're right outside. I think there's people upstairs. And she's like, why didn't you tell me? I'm just like, I didn't think it was a big deal. She's like, Aaron, like, you could have died. Like, that's your brain. DTs. Totally. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. She goes, okay, listen, you got to tell me everything. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, right? Again, but that was a great reminder that, you know what? That's how bad off I was, right?
Yeah. Hey, before we finish, there's 2 things I definitely wanted to ask you about.
Yes.
For one, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, hopefully it made sense.
No, it did.
Okay.
It did. And then I also thought I tell you about that after. But the 2 things I wanted to cover with you is, number one, as a fellow man here out in the universe, what does being a man mean to you?
That's a great question, you know, and I think because part of my work actually going into prisons and that, especially with fathering, we ask that question, right? And that's a core question too. I think what being a man is, it's being humble, it's being gracious, it's being emotionally and mentally strong, meaning that you ask for help. It means that you don't have to have all the answers. And guess what? Not only does not everybody want you to fix stuff, you don't have to. And 90% of the times, you can't. So ask for help, admit when you're wrong, and just be humble. Don't think more of yourself. Don't feed into this macho stereotype, right? Because, you know, as human beings, we're designed to be in relationship with other people.
Right.
And that's based on who you are when no one's looking. That's based on the passions that you have, the fears that you have, the hopes and dreams that you have, and the goals that you set. You cannot live any of those out, and you cannot reach those things that you're setting for yourself to achieve by yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Because a self-made man is a man with no friends at all.
Yeah.
That's just the way. So that would be my answer to that.
Did you always kind of feel that way about it? You know, like from when you were younger and a young man, and then the story that you just shared, did you always kind of feel that way, or is it something that developed over time?
This is something that's definitely developed over time.
Okay.
So being a Gen Xer, just going to say.
Yeah. I'm like right after that.
You know,
I'm either an old millennial or a young Gen Xer. So
go with the young Gen Xer. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
We lived before the internet.
Yeah, there you go. Right, exactly. Then
and the smartphone.
That's a Gen Xer.
Plenty.
There you go.
Yep.
So I was raised, in a farm community where you need to be resourceful. You don't show your emotions.
Right.
You man up.
Man up.
If you don't know how to do it, you figure it out, and you don't ask for help until you figure it out. And then at that time, completely ruined it, and then get yelled at for trying to figure it out when you said that's what I'm supposed to do, right?
Yes.
No, so this developed really, I think, my understanding of what a man truly is really began when I gave my life to the Lord when I was 25, and it really began to develop there. But it really, really did hit hard when I got sober, because all of the steps lead you to a place where you got to surrender. You can't do things on your own. You have to humble out, and you've got to ask for forgiveness, and then you've got to, what we would say, man up and
Right.
do the hard work humbly to restore those relationships. And here's the biggest thing, is that when I came home, this kind of illustrates the point. I sat down with each of my kids and I said, hey, I'm so sorry. Will you forgive me? They knew what was going on. Mom did not withhold anything. They're like, Dad's drinking. He's got a problem. He can't help himself. We're trying to get him help. Hey, he's at rehab.
Yeah.
Don't know when he's going to be home. So she walked alongside them, along with my community, the whole step of the way. So when I came back, I remember sitting him down individually. And my youngest was pretty young. So he's just like, oh, yeah, I forgive you, Daddy. Didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
My daughter was connected and understood that stuff was really jacked up. She's such a sweetheart. And she was like, yeah, of course I forgive you, Daddy.
Yeah.
My oldest though, so he was the one that really saw things go down pretty gnarly. His answer when I said, hey, will you forgive me, and I want to rebuild our relationship, was like, I'll think about it. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was not the answer I was expecting. I said, you know what, that's totally fine. You take your time. And by the end of the day, he had come back and said, I do forgive you, right? And so, but that's humbling. Like when your firstborn is saying, I don't know, Dad.
Yeah.
And I'm still rebuilding trust with all of my kids. And it's interesting. So 6 years, I still consider myself very new to sobriety. I'm still learning so much. And I'm seeing that the ripple effects of the way that I acted and my behavior still has consequences today. There's certain things when my wife and I argue, when I say, and she's just like, you cannot say that. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, why? She goes, you would say that to me all the time. It's a big trigger for her.
Yeah.
So I could say, I'm better. Like, why don't you? Like, no, and trust me, I've never said that, or I wouldn't be sitting here today. Okay? I'm like, no. I'm like, yes. What do you need me to do to reestablish and rebuild our relationship? That's humbling out. And to me, that's what it means to man up.
I love that, man. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So one other thing I wanted to for sure ask you about is, let's go with these two different times in recovery.
Yeah.
Some practical advice.
Yeah.
So somebody's still counting days super early on, right? Year one, let's call it. What's like, say, the biggest one or two pieces of advice you would give someone early recovery?
Make it to meetings. I used to hate the AA cliches.
Oh, like me, makers make it?
Yeah, so I'm just like, I'm not going to say that, but thanks for bringing that up. But it's true, right? But it's not just showing up. Like, you've got to show up and you've got to humble out. You really do. Find the people in those meetings that you connect with, right? And then build that community there. Because what in my short personal subjective experience with addicts,
that's fair.
what I've found is this, is that the ones that do make it, it's not just about the meeting, about checking off the box.
Yeah.
Are you building relationships?
Getting the paper signed.
Yeah, exactly. If you're on papers, get them signed. That's great. But are you building relationship?
Yeah.
Right. And I know, hey, we got trust issues. Like
Sure.
we're in fight or flight still, even when we're sober. We're still processing through that. Find somebody that you can trust. Have boundaries. Definitely have boundaries. But you have to invite somebody in. If you have at least one person who's in your corner, who's not going to, now this is just me, they're not telling you what you should do. When you ask them what you should do, I think it's great for them to say, I don't know, what should you do? Because you're a grown up person.
Right. Yeah,
okay.
Right.
So if you're counting days, make it to as many meetings as you can, get a community around you, know that it's going to be a long, hard road and it's different for everybody, but definitely do that.
I think the other part that is not talked about enough, in my opinion, is what kind of advice would you give somebody around the 2-year mark? Right. When you've kind of quote unquote made it, right? And when things start going well, even, you know, what kind of advice would you give to someone at that, say, 2-ish, 3 years, whatever? You've been in recovery a little bit now.
Okay. So it's so interesting that you say that, because that year, I don't know if it was year 2 or 3, I can't remember. What I actually did was, I think we were just coming out of COVID, like 2018, 19, 20, 20, maybe 2 or 3 year mark. I was tired of the online meetings, right? I was doing that consistently. I wanted to be back in person. In person started meeting up again. And I said, I'm gonna do a little experiment, and I'm gonna only go to a meeting like maybe once or twice a month, right? But I did it again. I'm not suggesting that. I said, this is part of my story and my journey, because I wanted to see what my support system outside of the meetings was, right? And so I let people know, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to hit as many meetings anymore. I'm still going to be going, but I need you guys to hold me accountable. So my whole point in saying that, hey, year 2, year 3, as you're at that part, do you have a sponsor? Is the sponsor helping you? Okay. It's not just checking the box. And again, the sponsor helping you doesn't mean like, oh yeah, they listen to everything I say. It's like, are they challenging you? Are they not putting up with your BS, right? Because the ability to lie and manipulate doesn't just go away because we stopped using it.
It's pretty natural.
It's there, right? You can't undo a lifetime.
A lot of reps.
Yeah, right? Yeah, absolutely a lot of reps, right? So somebody who can call you on your BS and has your best interest in mind, right? That's definitely there. If you stopped at year 2 doing your daily inventory, start it up again. I found that happened for me. I'm like, hey, I'm doing great. I'll do a check-in every once in a while, maybe mentally. Get into it, continue working the steps. And if you're not helping somebody else to some degree, start doing it. Because you only have to be one step ahead of somebody else, because you're not going to fix them. You're not going to solve their problem. You're not the solution, but you're a support for somebody to see that there is hope, because you're still sober. There is hope. Your family's being restored, or you've recovered from your family not being able to be restored. You're still here. You're still living, and you're not just living. You're getting from the survival mode into thriving mode.
Love it. Our last question. So it's our signature question here in our show. Our show is called Listen to Your Heart. So Aaron, when you listen to your heart, what does it say?
When I listen to my heart now, in light of everything I just shared, the first thing that I hear is that I'm loved, that I have purpose, I have hope, and my call and my job in my life is to make sure when I meet people that they walk away from that interaction with me, regardless of their situation, knowing that they have value and that there is hope no matter what state of mind, heart, or body you find yourself in. There is hope.
Aaron, thank you so much, man. And thank you for tuning in to Listen to Your Heart. Today's episode covered a bunch of heavier topics, so if you or a loved one needs a little extra support and you're located in the U.S., please call or text 988. There are people available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Until next time, mahalo.